I'm Rosie, and today I'm going to do the Bookshelf Yearbook Tag. This tag was originally created by Emma Books, and although I haven't been tagged in it, I thought it'd be a nice way to round off the year and start 2015. So let's get started. The first title is Best Cover. For this I chose Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales, which I absolutely love the cover for. It's got all the nice swirls and patterns and little birds, and then this lovely picture, which, quite sad, I think accurately reflects Grimm's way of telling the tales. Then we have the best male protagonist. For this one I went with Alan Carlson from The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared by Jonas Jonasson. I chose him because he's not the typical male protagonist. He's 100-year-old and he just decides to step out the window and go on his own adventure in the last few years of his life, and I like that concept so much, and I just think he's my best male protagonist. Then we have the best female protagonist. This one I found quite tricky because a lot of my books have female protagonists in, but I decided to go with one that I've read recently, and that is Lena from Delirium. I chose her because she's willing to fight for what she wants, and I think that's such a good trait to have in a female protagonist. And even though she does moan quite a bit and mopes, I just found her quite relatable and I quite liked her. For the best villain, I went with 1984 because the villain in this is society itself, and the way the world's going with everything being available to anyone, pretty much, like your Google searches, CCTV, it's a very accurate depiction of today's life, and that I found is quite scary, so I think the best villain is the one in 1984. For the cutest couple, I have got Rosie and Don in The Rosie Project, or more recently The Rosie Effect, which I haven't actually got a nice copy for, so I decided to just go with The Rosie Project, and I just really like their relationship. Just the acceptance of each other's flaws and who they are, and they're just so cute. For the coolest fictional world, I've gone with The Many-Coloured Land. While it's not technically a fictional world because it's set on Earth, it's set a few million years in the past on Earth, and in the future as well, now I think about it. In it, humanity and all these other alien species have the ability to communicate telepathically or conjure up fire and illusions and coerce other people. And there's this exile time teleportation machine, and people get exiled or choose to go back in time where they can't come back from. And there's an alien species there that is treating the humans basically as slaves, except for a few select ones that benefit their society. And I just really like that world, and it's really interesting. I'd highly recommend reading this. For the book with the most interesting plot, I've gone with Game of Thrones because there is so much going on in here. There's so many different storylines and different subplots and main plots that it's just an intricate weaving of different stories, and I really like that, and I love the series. Then we have the most overhyped book. This came out a while ago, but I have to go with The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. There was so much hype about this that when it finally came out, it was a bit of a disappointment to read. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, and I don't think it was written as well as it could have been, and the characters weren't as great as the ones in Harry Potter. So, sorry JK. Then we have the most underhyped book. This one I chose Clariel by Garth Nix, for the simple reason that I had no idea it was coming out. So I've got Sabriel because the actual Clariel book that I read is on the Kindle, and I didn't want to show the Kindle, but this is the first book in the series, so I thought it suited well enough. The book which is most likely to put me to sleep is unfortunately The Book of Souls by James Oswald. I really sad to say that I didn't really like this book much at all. It was a struggle to read, and though I made it to the end, I kind of feel like my time spent on it wasn't really worth it, and it was a little bit boring in places. Like, at times it was good, I will say that, but sorry. most likely to get picked up in a bookstore. The Fault in Our Stars. I really enjoyed the book, and I quite enjoyed the film as well. I didn't cry, which I was kind of expecting I would, but this has been so hyped and so many people have bought it and it's so popular that anything by John Green really is going to get picked up. For the book most likely to collect dust at a bookstore, I've gone with Here Lies Arthur by Philip Reeve. It is a really good book, but with this cover I think people are going to assume it's for young children and not really pick it up, which is sad because I would highly recommend reading it. For the book most likely to be reread, I have gone with Harry Potter. I would say the entire series, but the first one is the one that I've reread the most, and it's just the obvious choice. I don't know anyone who hasn't read it only once. I don't know how many times I've read this, at least 7, every time the next book has come out, but yeah. Finally, for the #1 greatest book of all time, this was an impossible choice. I have so many books that I absolutely love, and while a few of them have already come up, like Game of Thrones and Harry Potter, I decided to go with The Lord of the Rings, mainly because the last Hobbit film has just come out, and I kind of feel it's the end of an era in a way. And The Lord of the Rings was the movies that started the movie franchise, and this was the book that started the movies. And I don't actually have a copy of The Hobbit to show you, otherwise that would also be in this hand, but you can imagine. This has had such an influence on many books, many series, and people in general, that I have to say, for now at least, it's the #1 greatest book of all time. And there you have it. Those were my choices for that tag, and I hope you enjoyed them, and let me know if you agreed with them in the comments below, or if you've got other choices for some of them. Goodbye!